think I just figured something out, Beavis.
What?
This sucks.
Yeah, it really sucks.
This sucks more than anything that has ever sucked before.
Now here's my less flattering list. It's my top 5 worst horror movies of 2024. And while this year has not been amazing for horror, it's definitely had some great horror movies, and it definitely had some very, very bad horror movies. This list will be the top 5 worst horror movies that I have watched in 2024. Here we go. Number 5, The Strangers Chapter 1. Even though this movie isn't the worst horror movie of the year, it definitely was my biggest disappointment of the year when it comes to horror. I was very excited to see this movie. The first Strangers movie from 2009, I think, is one of my favorite slasher movies of all time. And I just looked it up, it's from 2008, so I missed that. But it is one of my favorite slasher movies of all time because of its style. You don't figure out who the killers are. They don't say much, they don't have a motive at the end. They just do the things they are doing. And this is a planned trilogy, this new Chapter 1, Chapter 2 and Chapter 3. And I was on board because I was thinking, okay, let's see what they do with the 3 movies. Let's see what kind of explanation they give us for these 3 killers, and so on. But what they ended up doing was just basically redoing the first original movie. And that was very disappointing to me. It was pointless because why would I want to see the exact same movie unless it's a remake? But even with remakes, you have to be a little bit original. Unless you are doing a shot-for-shot remake, you have to be original. Bring something new into it. Do your own version of the ground story. This movie does none of that. And these characters, these new characters, they are just empty. The actors are having great performances in the movie, but the characters are badly written. They are very dumb characters. Now, in the original, the characters also made some stupid choices. There were some stupid choices in that movie too, but these are much more dumb characters than in the original. And not only that, in the original you get a pretty good reason why these 2 characters in the original are where they are and why they are at that vacation house. But here is just a car that breaks down, and that's okay as for a reason, but as soon as they come to this small town, the people that are living there, they are acting very strange, so you immediately feel like it's some kind of town thing. And you at times feel like the killers are supported by this town, or because everyone is acting very weird and like they hate this couple that their car broke down. So almost immediately everyone is a suspect, at least of the people that are living there. But that's not the movie's biggest problem. The movie's biggest problem is that it's almost a remake, frame by frame a remake of the original. Some things that are different, but most of it is almost identical. It's not an awful movie. It has some good scenes, 1 or 2, and the acting is good, but that's about it. So Strangers Chapter 1 is number 5. Number 4, Imaginary. After the very underwhelming Five Nights at Freddy's, Blumhouse kept making some either bad or underwhelming movies, and this is one of them. There's very few occasions where a video game adaptation succeeds. It's very hard to make a movie based on a video game because it's 2 very different mediums. I think the first two Sonic movies are the best video game adaptations. I have not seen the third one yet, so I don't know how that went, but I will eventually see it. Imaginary has a very creative idea. It's your toy that you had as a child that you pretended was real. And it plays with the idea about if it actually was real, if your imaginary friend was real. And what if that imaginary friend turned out to be a demon? So the concept has a lot of potential. But this movie takes no creativity in what it's doing. It has a good idea, but it does almost nothing with it. It's very predictable. Everything in this movie is very predictable. And it's not scary. It feels like a PG-13 horror movie. And maybe it is. I'm not sure. The characters are very bland, they have no chemistry, it doesn't work. The characters, you don't believe their relationships at all. The acting can also be very bland at times. And the story is just not that very exciting at all. The only things that work in this movie are the visuals. It's a well-shot movie, and there are some separate scenes that work, but it's a very bland movie. So Imaginary, very much so, deserves a spot on this list. Number 3, Night Swim. This is not a movie that I really hated. I don't think it's awful, but I definitely don't think it's good at all either. It's bland. There are just some bland movies that you kind of see that they are not really truly awful, like wow, but not good either. And again, the visuals are quite good here. The acting is quite good also. But to make a movie about a pool, a haunted pool, and it's just not enough story to build upon. There's not much you can do. And what they do is very cliche. It's almost like most of the haunted or supernatural movies you have seen that are bad, and they don't even try to be less cliche. They are just cliche and that's it. And this was a short first, and it should have stayed being a short instead of doing a feature-length film about this, because if you're going to do a feature-length movie, then you have to build upon what you already have. Make this interesting. It's a ridiculous idea to have a haunted pool, but make it at least funny or interesting in some way. This could have been very fun if it didn't take itself so seriously. And it was the third Blumhouse project in a row that was disappointing. Even though I really didn't have high expectations of a movie that has a haunted pool in it. Number 2, Tarot. If you want the most generic horror movie possible, Tarot is the movie for you. And fuck this movie. Because there are no redeeming qualities whatsoever about this movie. It's truly awful. Nothing is good in here. Except for maybe the visuals, but it's just that one thing. And I have to admit that the ground idea could have been interesting. Tarot cards, faith, and so on. It could have been an interesting horror movie. But here are just ideas that they got from other movies, many other movies, and nothing else. It's just generic scene after generic scene. Very empty characters, very bad dialogue, very bad writing for the characters and the story. And it's mostly unknown actors too, and that's not a bad thing in general, but here they are not good. But you can blame that on the writing too. You can definitely blame that on the writing. Except for Jacob Batalon, who plays Ned in the Tom Holland Spider-Man movies. At least that's the only one I could recognize in this cast. And he's also not good in here because the writing really is terrible in here. The scenes are, it's PG-13, so the kills are not showing on screen. Every kill is just shown off screen, at least almost all of them. This movie feels like it relies too much on the tarot concept, and you can do something interesting with that concept, but here it just feels like they relied on an unfinished idea of it. The concept is good, the ground concept is quite interesting, but they don't do anything interesting with it. They just use that as a springboard to make a bad horror movie. And of course, the movie is named Tarot and it's going to rely on that concept, but this is just like they used the name of it, the concept of tarot cards, and made a generic horror movie out of it. And this is definitely one of the worst horror movies of 2024. It only is topped by one movie for me. And that is the number one movie on this list. And that is Mickey Mouse's Mouse Trap. So after the Winnie the Pooh movies 1 and 2 became moderate successes, they made this movie. And here I can say that there is nothing good in this. Nothing, not the visuals, nothing. There's absolutely nothing good in this movie. It was only made to make money, and nothing else. And if you think about it, taking a Disney character and making it into a horror movie is something you can make something fun with, something that is self-aware and doesn't take itself seriously and is comedic in tone. But it does nothing with that. It does nothing to be funny. It's not a funny movie. It's just a slasher movie that is written in the worst way possible. Nothing is explained. Nothing why this guy in a Mickey Mouse mask is killing these people, how he has his powers, because he has powers in this movie. It's not explained. It's not explained why he starts killing them. It's just a TV with the first old Mickey Mouse cartoon on it, and someone is watching it, and this guy starts killing people, and that's basically it. They didn't even try with this movie. It's just using a brand name like Mickey Mouse and making money out of it. Because these movies are made for they have budgets around a few $1,000s, maybe 10, 20, and they make that money back and more in a theatrical release or on streaming, and that's it. That's the only reason they are made. So Mickey Mouse's Mousetrap is the worst horror movie of 2024 for me. If you like this video, please like, share and subscribe. Also, don't forget to smash the bell icon so that you don't miss any of my future videos. And I hope everyone has a very happy new year. This has been Boogeyman Cinema. Thank you for watching.